Hello everyone, welcome back. We are looking into gold making in Ashenvale. It seems like there are a few lucrative options, but also some pretty typical, like if you wanted to make a few thousand gold per hour, it would be fairly easy and consistent in this zone. So let's check them out. The first farm that we are looking into is killing beasts for their hides and leather. And as you can see, one of these isn't really a beast, it is a fairy dragon. Spiders, unfortunately, do not drop them, but we have stags, bears, the fairy dragons, also some demons, and then the wolves. So those are the primary 4 or 5, if you include the demons, farms that we have in the zone for making gold. And one really nice thing about killing beasts and getting their skins is because it's also very consistent. The hides are always going to be used for people leveling their classic skills and also maybe even higher tier skills to get the patterns learned. There are a lot of collectors out there that collect ancient patterns, and getting the levels is just one way to finally learn those patterns. The downside of this farm is that beasts tend to be pretty spread out unless you're in a specific dungeon, and also they fluctuate in their cost quite a bit, so sometimes they are really good priced and sometimes they are really poorly priced. If you remember from the last episode, you will know that the beasts actually have a higher population in this zone than others because the night elves let their population grow to help defend the zone from the invaders. Now let's check on how the furbolgs are doing and see if they have any money to offer us. Furbolgs are humanoids, and what do humanoids tend to have? Cloth, they have raw gold drops, they have random gray item drops, which is just vendor trash, which kind of adds up a little bit, and just like every other mob in the zone, they tend to share a BOE drop table that is a little bit higher than beasts and non-humanoids. So one thing you will find out of these furbolgs is that they have special blue BOEs that are actually worth a decent amount. They're not nearly as high as some other humanoids that I've seen. The majority of the items are only 5,000 or less. Occasionally you'll find one that's 50k, and maybe even more. However, from the furbolgs, it's usually pretty cheap. I noticed on average they're probably about 2,000 overall, and that's only if they sell. One great thing to consider while you are killing humanoids just for their gold is that you might get a few drops that are worth 50,000 gold. However, that gold isn't really guaranteed unless the items actually sell. So if you are looking to make a lot of gold and consistently make it and actually see the income immediately, you're going to want to be looking into doing different farms, not transmog farms. Unless they include very sought after items, which do exist. However, they are less common than the average mob. It'll be much more specific, like running an old dungeon for a specific transmog that a lot of people farm. One example is Alderman. You are able to get a bunch of rare items out of Alderman that are actually very sought after, and some of them are worth millions of gold for that reason. And those will sell a bit more often than some of the kind of lackluster BOEs that you're getting from other mobs. Before we move on to the best farm, we're going to look at the second best farm. And before we do that, I'm actually going to mention some honorable mentions. There are bog beasts in the zone, and there are also water elementals in the zone. We did look at them a little bit in my previous video. Both of them have very low drop rates on their elemental drops, and they're not really worth killing for their gold. I'm ready for the prime slime time. On top of the bind on equip items, the slimes also contain a few different drops that are related to bags. The slimy bag, the oozing bag, and the scum covered bag. The disgusting oozling battle pet is worth a whopping 92,000 gold on NA servers. And this battle pet can actually be farmed in other zones. It can be farmed from other slimes. There are some specific places that have the best drop rates. Unfortunately, this isn't one of them. However, this battle pet farm does have the chance of being really worth your time in the case that it actually drops. I personally don't think it's going to be the number one farm in this zone, particularly because you need the drop of the bag, and then that bag needs to also drop the disgusting oozling battle pet, which is 2 drops at the same time, both of which are fairly low. Alright, it is time for the most profitable portion of the zone. It is Blackfathom Deeps, both on the way to Blackfathom Deeps and also the instance itself. There are many different BOEs from this dungeon that have a lot of value to them. Most of them are actually around 50 to 750,000 gold. They are fairly rare, however, they do drop. I mean, you'll notice that the drop rate from the mobs I'm killing, it is actually about 0.01%. It is very low. However, you get into the instance, and some of these are 0.1%, which is way better. Every 1,000 mobs you kill, you have a chance of getting really good loot. Yeah, don't mind if I do. I'm going to do a quick run through of this dungeon and kind of explain where I'm making the gold. First of all of the murlocs are able to be pickpocketed. Another thing, there are giant clams under the water, and these hold tangy clam meat, which is actually worth a few gold itself. You can get battered junk boxes from anything you pickpocket, which have a chance of having rare drops as well. And then there are a decent amount of beasts in here that you are able to skin. Another little bonus is that there are 2 guaranteed treasure chests in many Classic dungeons, and this dungeon is no exception even though it's been updated since Classic. The first one is when we are going to the next boss, you'll see I take a left and find a treasure chest behind a murloc. And that one is always there. I have ran this, I don't know, 5 to 10 times today just to kind of get a feel for the dungeon and its drops. And the treasure chest on the left has always been there. It's possible that there are 2 spawn locations, but it's been there for me every time. Now when you finish the next boss after that treasure chest, down this pathway, you'll come back and turn around to go to the next boss, and there are 2 treasure chest spawn locations. After you kill the fishing boss, or the guy that drops a fishing pole, the ogre, you can go straight and all the way down, and there might be a treasure chest at the end, or you'll see I find it on the left-hand side and grab it there instead. Other than that, you're basically just collecting that leather that we mentioned earlier, grabbing as much loot as you can from everything, opening up these battered junk boxes, and these junk boxes can actually have numerous things in them. They have many rare items, however I've never received one and I've opened probably 400 of them. Other than collecting the clamshells in this room, there is also a mini-boss under what I am currently moving towards right now. If you swim in the water and just go under this platform, you'll find it down there. And then earlier when we killed the turtle boss, there is also another bonus boss that you can kill too. It's not required, but it is more potential for loot. Alright, that concludes our video for gold making. What I will do is kind of follow suit with the previous one and put in the values, kind of give an hourly rate for each farm. Some of them are very subjective. I mean, you can get lucky and get a lot of gold, you can get unlucky and get a little gold, and then I will exclude a few. Like, I didn't cover fishing or mining during this video, and that's for a very obvious reason. It's pretty much the same in every single zone, and it's worth doing, in my opinion, as long as you're looking up how much the fish costs. Now let's check on those prices. The first method, we're going to include mining and herb lore. 2,000 to 4,000 per hour. It can be even more, depending on your luck with the gem drops. Killing furbolgs, that can be 3,000, kind of just off of the trash drops that they give, and they also drop a flat amount of gold. It adds up over time, but that can also be greatly increased by the rarity of the BOEs that you're receiving. Some of them are patterns, recipes, and so on and so forth. Skinning beasts, that's about 2,000 per hour, not including BOEs or vendor drops. This is just from the skins alone. And then also I did include the meats that dropped as well, just because that's kind of in line with skinning too. Farming for the battle pet is very difficult to say. The drop chance of the bag itself and then also the pet is really low, so the likelihood of you getting that is going to be difficult. But if you do get it, you're going to be making bank. The next drop is the Black Fathom Deeps, just running it in general, including the BOEs. That one is impossible to say. You could make 700,000 just from one mob. If we leave out the BOEs, you can still make a few thousand gold per hour consistently from leathers and the chests and just everything that's going on in there. That concludes the video. I hope you really enjoyed this one. It was interesting. I mean, finding that there is a drop in the Black Fathom Deeps that was about 700,000. Really interesting. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and if you do hear whispers from the Black Fathom Deeps, maybe hear them out this time.
You will subscribe.
See you later.